And I'm like, how is this possible when it's just literally me and my cat? And I'm not even counting my cat food.
Hello, and welcome to Planish's podcast, Future Edge. I am your host, Barbara Ginty, and I am also a CFP. And I am here with my guest today, Monet.
No, yes, that's right.
Hi. Okay, perfect. Thanks for joining us. Why don't you tell our listeners, and then obviously me, a little bit about yourself? So we like to do age, location, income, all that jazz.
Sure. So I'm Monet. I live in Pennsylvania. I won't disclose the city because it's kind of small. I make
Perfect.
55,000 a year. I work in education. And is there anything else that I'm missing from that?
Oh, single partners.
Oh my gosh, newly single. I could totally get into that too.
Oh, we
um,
we will get into that. I love this. We'll get into that.
yeah, and I'm just excited to be here. I've been tuning in since 2021, I want to say. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I just love the format. Normally, when I listen to like finance type podcasts, it's a little bit too, I don't know, it's just too stuck up, I guess is the only word I could think of. And it's just nice. It feels so relaxed and it's just real people coming on talking about real things and you don't feel so alone. So thank you for bringing this to us.
Oh, amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. I feel like we put the podcast out every week and you don't really get a lot of feedback unless, thank you for the feedback, unless someone tells you. So you're like, I hope it's helping. I hope people like it. Like we
Yeah.
see the numbers, but like it's just like a number, it's just a number. So that is the intention. We want to make it approachable and non-judgmental because I think that's really important that you're not put down because I think I'm a big believer that if you get educated about your finances, you can always change where you are. It's not a permanent situation, nothing's permanent. And so it shouldn't be judged. And you also have no control over life events. So you could have a perfect scenario and then have like a horrible accident and everything could change, you know? So I think it's really important that it's approachable and not judgmental. So I appreciate you
Yeah.
telling
Course.
me.
I felt very connected too. I think there was maybe one like three weeks ago, possibly, the young lady in New York, and she was saying something like, if you think you heard the worst, like, no, no, no. I'm like, I cannot wait. I hope that I get a chance to go on. Like, I might be the worst person with the most random situations ever. So I'm like contact that girl so that way she knows she can talk to me if she wants to about her situations.
Yeah, you never know what someone else is going through. Okay, so fill us in. So you're in Pennsylvania, newly single, which I'm obviously gonna have questions on, making
Yeah.
55,000. And what are you doing for your industry? Like, what's your career?
So I'm in education. I'm a site manager at a
Right. Okay.
university, a local university.
Okay.
Prior to
Amazing.
that, I was a site manager at a really big organization that I heard such amazing things about in recent years. But unfortunately, some things remain the same. And I quickly left there. And I was making about maybe 63,000. And so I
Oh,
felt
okay.
comfortable in this particular city that I'm in because it's not New York prices, right? So it's like
Hmm.
63 can take you a long way. But I also wanted sanity and I just wanted to feel wanted and I also wanted assistance, when it comes to certain things in my job description. And I didn't have that like I was promised. So now I'm in this space. And as much as I love education and I love the university that I'm at, things went downhill after 2 days of me starting. The person that was the other site manager, she was like, "Hey, Monet, can I pull you to the side? I'm leaving." I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Within 2 days.
2 days, she told me she was leaving. She already talked to the dean that oversees this department, and she couldn't her 2 weeks. So at this point, that was let's see, that was the very beginning of December, I would say. And so we had this huge
Okay.
holiday break, and then next thing you know, we're back in January, and this person is gone after like day two of like January 3rd or something like that, and we came back. So it was just me on my own, and I'm like a middle ground person. I'm not just with the university, but also with this other organization that is like a United in the United States. So like I've kind of need both hands in the pot, and I don't always have that because the university doesn't know really what's going on because they depended on this person who's been there for like 9, 10 years, to like
She just
support me.
left.
And she just left, and then the other person before her left in October of last year. So, I don't have, yeah, didn't have support there. And then the organization, they're struggling with their money. So they had a lot of layoffs soon after this news came out. So the people that were going to support me have those people anymore either.
You
And then
like
the
show
director,
up and then everybody's like, hey, I'm out. Have a good time.
yeah. And it's just, I mean, I love a challenge sometimes, but I just wasn't expecting this. And I'll be honest, I really feel like if I would have known once I said yes, sign me up to this, if someone would have told me, hey, I'm leaving, also there's like a lot of money issues within the organization and you might not have the support that you need to like be successful in your role at all.
Hmm.
I don't know if I would have decided to stay.
Right. So are you looking? That's a lot. It feels like not, it wasn't obviously whoever hired you didn't know everybody was going to, there was going to be layoff. If it's another entity that you work with, and like they obviously the 2 weeks she gave 2 weeks, so that you don't know that in advance. It feels a little bit like a bait and switch. Like, here, come in. There'll be all the support and resources. And as you said, if you need those things to succeed, then it makes it difficult. You're kind of in like a lose-lose. Like, unless they've said to you, okay, here's the opportunity by having these spaces open that we think you could grow into this role or whatever. So if they haven't identified how this is going to, if you succeed, right, if you're able to manage with all of the things that have been removed, like, have they given you like
Mhm.
a path? Like, if you're able to manage the site without another site manager,
Well, there's
what are
all
you
these
thinking?
rules. There's all these rules and regulations, and sorry in advance, my cat toy is going off, but there's all these rules and regulations on the organization side. So, like, we have goals set in place. So, we work with
Hmm.
preschools, and the college students go into preschools to teach a curriculum that's already preset for them,
Oh,
pre-made, which
cool.
is really beautiful. Yeah, and it's to get them prepared for kindergarten with vocabulary and just reading books and all these amazing things. But we have goals set in place. So we have downsized since everyone decided to leave. And so now it's just me as one site manager. And I will be supporting 30 college students. And there's like a certain number of preschool students based off of those numbers as well that I'll eventually support over time in preschools. So, they're very strict about goals, especially this year now that they have also downsized with the organization and their money is very, structured in such a way now. So that's important. So it's like I'm like the ugly step kid here. It's like, like I'm trying to support whatever they need with the organization. And then you got the university side, and we have provisional days and whatnot where they're like, hey, we really need you to do this. And like you're kind of low in this, but we need you to do this. And like I don't have time to do all the things that I need and would love to do. I just don't know where it's fitting in. And then to top it off, to make matters worse, I'm neurodivergent a bit. I'm a little neurospicy. So, I have ADHD and I'm waiting to get the final test on that to confirm this with
Okay.
everybody and send this off. So, like, that is another layer of like issues that I have, I guess, this that kind of delayed me from making progress in a lot of areas. So at this point, I'm just like, oh my gosh, and I need money. Don't we all? But I need money
Yeah.
too to
Don't we
survive.
all? Yeah, we got a lot going on.
I told you.
Okay, so the plan maybe is to stick with it for the moment. You like is how's the income feeling? Like, well, maybe we should talk. Maybe let's see where you are with expenses. So I know you're not living in a major metropolitan city, so hopefully the dollars are going further. And are there any seniors in education you get like nice benefits, like free education or something like that?
Yeah, but I'll be honest, like if I do anything pretty like a certification, I have my master's, so I do have that, which
Oh,
can
you
take
do?
you
Okay.
far. Yes, so I have my master's in social work. I'm an MSW. So yay, that's awesome. I do not plan on getting my license anytime soon because I do struggle with test taking, and I know that there are programs to assist, but it also costs money. So I do believe
Right.
my university would possibly pay for that, and I can even count it as professional development because we have professional development dollars set aside for whether it be
Mm-hmm.
conferences or stuff like that. So I could possibly do that, and that would help increase my pay for sure if I go somewhere else. But to be completely honest with you, you, I am looking other places and also
Okay.
looking within the university to see if there's anything else that kind of catches my eye that also has more money because I need it. We all need it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to look within the university, right? Because it's a little easier to network inside internally sometimes, and you could like see what the job is, reach out to that person because you know you work there, so they'll answer you, or they should, and say, "Hey,
They
I'm
should, yeah.
interested." So yeah, they should. So that all makes sense. I think that's great. And then we did I get how old you were? I don't know if I must have missed that.
I am 34. I'll be 35 in November.
Okay, before turning 35. Okay, great. So let's see where you are with expenses. How's rent where you are? Are you renting? Do you own?
I'm renting. I'm actually moving, which is another layer to this. I probably
Throw
mentioned
that
in
in.
my message. Yeah, it's a lot. But I mentioned in my message, back in 2019, I actually moved back to this building. I was living with a now ex of mine, and a lot of stuff went down, and I moved back to this location that I probably shouldn't have because it's a slumlord location. But the building manager was so lovely at the time. However, I found him a girlfriend on a dating app, and he moved in with his girlfriend. So now so, so
Did
it's
your
a
did your
different,
little matchmaking on the
yeah,
side?
nothing on the side. Yeah, not getting paid for, but whatever. But yeah, so I no longer have that support system where like if something were to
Mhm.
happen, I could, reach out to this person. They're no longer here. But one of the things that happened when he left, at least that I noticed, was just severe smoke. And we have a forced heating vents on the bottom, like the perimeter
Okay.
of the building on each in each room. And I wake up
Okay.
in the morning, eyes are swollen, I can't breathe, I'm coughing, my nose is congested. I mean, it's just so horrible for my health. And it's been since, like I said, 2019.
Like cigarette smoke coming through the vents?
Really horrible,
Yeah.
dirty cigarette smoke. Not judging anybody who smokes, just like at least like give me like a good smelling cigarette. Like give me something else.
Yeah,
But it's just
I don't think I don't think it exists. And like I feel like if you smoke, like that's fine, but I don't want it in
yeah.
my living space. I've had apartments where it's
Yeah.
come through and it's like,
Yeah.
no, if you would like to engage in that activity and destroy your lungs, have at it. But
Yeah.
not mine, you know? And with those
Exactly.
venting systems, it can really, really come through into your space. I've had that happen with an apartment.
Yeah, so it's so bad, and I've been reporting it, and I could easily fight back. I know a lot of people who are in like the housing advocacy, spaces, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sick of fighting all the time with slumlords. I'm just over it, to be completely honest. And I'm like, I'd rather just start new. I kind of need that anyways at this point in my life. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm moving in our downtown section. My mom is freaking out because it's a lot going on right now with the homeless population. They lost their housing recently, and so there's been a lot more crime because of that. But oddly enough, I feel
Okay.
really safe in this area, and the rent
Okay.
is going up by about $200. And I'm like, you know what? I'll figure it out.
Okay, so what will the new rent be? I do think it's good to get out of a situation where you're having cigarette smoke in your apartment all the time. That's not
Yeah,
yours.
it's not
No.
mine. Nope. No, but the new rent is $1,277,
Okay,
and then
1,270. And then what's your take home about? I know do you
it's
have like an
about.
idea monthly?
Yeah, so right now it's 3,514. We can say 15 even, if you round it. I
Okay.
was getting supplemental pay because of that abrupt departure of the other site manager. And I actually was trying to check in
Mm-hmm.
on that this week to see if I was still getting it because I'm a little confused about what the pay slip that I have online looks like. But it was about $200 additional than, what I'm making with the number I gave you. But I
Okay.
think they said I'll only get that for just a few months, which is insane. So I'm like, I'll be the only site manager for a very long time, at least for another calendar year.
So
So
they initially said we'll pay you extra because essentially you're probably doing more than your role. It sounds like you're doing more than your role. But then the
yeah,
supplemental pay was just temporary?
yeah, yeah. And I think because a couple of things, one, they just never did that before. Just never just have it never was a time where they had it forever. They normally maybe hire
Yeah.
somebody else or like had additional assistance. But
Mm-hmm.
then also now with the new goal numbers for the organization, the university, I guess, is like, okay, well, now we're kind of back to square one for this new school year. And this is kind of what she would have to do anyways if it was one site manager, which it is. So I guess they're like, okay, whatever. We're gonna just let it go. So I need to check in on that because I'm like, I really would
Yeah.
love to keep that. That would be lovely.
Yeah. I would love for you to keep that too. Okay, so we'll put that down as like maybe you shoot them an email and just say, I'd like to discuss continuing this for me until you find a replacement.
Yeah.
Um, the worst thing is they say no.
Yeah.
And then what you could also say is like, I'd like maybe we could revisit this, or like you could check in with somebody, whoever, because there's always like another decision maker, you know?
Yeah.
And it's
Exactly.
always uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. I do it myself. It's uncomfortable, but I always think it's like, well, why don't we check? Can we do a meeting with so and so, or like, where does this get decided, or is there anything else we could do to see if there's
Yeah.
any more wiggle room? Like, it. The worst thing is they say no, even if you ask twice, they say no twice. That's the
It's not gonna
downside.
hurt. Exactly.
No.
I actually have a meeting with the dean who oversees the department coming up because we have a new director. The person's very lovely, but the changes also are very abrupt, and everyone is just like the sky is falling right now. It's just not the time for all these different changes. Like the increased amount of time we're spending in the office is insane when it's summer and there's no students, and like why are we here so long? We should be enjoying our little
Mhm.
extra 30 minutes away from work, but I want to
Right.
talk to her anyway, so I will bring that up.
Yeah, you might as well. I'm always a big fan of just broaching the conversation. I think often it's skipped over because it is uncomfortable, or at least I
Yeah,
find it uncomfortable. Most people find it
it is.
uncomfortable. So it's just like a temporary moment or minutes of uncomfortableness that could be very helpful overall. Okay. So after rent, so we're just gonna leave out the supplemental income for the time being. After rent, you have $2,237 left, give or take.
About that amount, probably even a little bit more.
Okay.
But yes.
Okay, and then what other bills do we have?
Ooh, so we have let's see, we have internet, which is about $79.
Okay.
Electricity is about 20, and I'm hoping that stays the same in the new place. We'll see. I
Okay.
really use anything or have lights on and stuff. So, like right now it's pretty dark in here. My cell phone is $60.
Okay.
I have Netflix, and I think I still have Hulu, and it's about $40 in total.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is one of the main issues, and I'm like, somebody please help me. My groceries are probably close to like 200, at least I budget that amount. And I'm like, how is this possible when it's just literally me and my cat? And I'm not even counting my cat food.
So it's 200 a month.
I would say about that. And I'm just
Yeah.
literally greedy, and that's it.
No, I actually don't think that's too high. I feel like I have people on
Okay.
often. Yeah, and who would I just did a podcast a little earlier today, and I think groceries for two people was 800 a month. Now,
Oh,
a very
wow.
different one of the highest cost of living cities, so groceries are obviously it all trickles down. If their rent is the most expensive grocery store rent, in the country, then their groceries are the most expensive groceries. Um, so that would have been double. And so of like if you cut it in half. So I actually don't think 200 a month. I mean, it's $50 a week.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
I'm not even
Okay.
including what I'm eating out, but that we'll get there.
Okay, we'll
In
get
fact,
there.
that's the next
Okay.
thing on the list. Yeah, dining
Okay.
out, I had budgeted 150, but I feel like I always go over, especially in the summer when you want to go outside more and you want to grab whatever, I
Hmm.
don't know, a fish taco or something like once a week, you know. But that's what I budgeted. And then personal care, grooming. This is a budgeted amount, but I feel like I never get a chance to see this, which is $140. That's like a pedicure or a manicure or like a wax or
Yep.
something. I do my own hair when I do my hair, so that's luckily excluded.
Okay, that's good. That is a big budget item for a lot of people.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay.
And then toiletries is about $50. I tried going to
Okay.
Amazon to save some money on that. And then I like to, sometimes buy clothing, even though I don't really go too many places to wear all the clothes, but that's about $177. I feel like recently gained weight in the past year or so, and I'm such a hoarder of clothes and things that I have so many old clothes I know it's not fitting me. They're just not. But in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get back in it. Like tomorrow, it's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So I have to keep replacing them, especially for work and especially for the fall. We are wearing casual wear right now, but we are more like a dressy attire space. So I'm trying to
Okay.
like re up on all those things. And then
Perfect.
I do have a GoDaddy account because I am trying to work on a website for my small business. And that's
Okay.
$32. And I have Capital One, and I have a savings with Capital One. So I try every month to put 300 in my savings, which doesn't even exist right now. So we can get into that in a sec. But I do put 300
Okay.
every month into my savings. And I also see about I'll say about 350 altogether for my two credit cards I normally include every month to pay off the credit card bill.
Okay. So those expenses come to all of those come to $1,598. And then if we added the
Completely
rent
wrong.
at what?
Because I
And
was
we added the
completely
rent
wrong with
at
those numbers.
that comes to with the rent added in, we come to 2,875. That's what I'm showing with the rent at 1,277. And then I have you bringing home, even if we just round up and say it's 2,900 in expenses, and then I have you bring home 30, we'll just use round numbers, 3,500. So a $600 gap. Does it feel like you have 600 at the end of the month?
Never. In fact, the issue is, well, not really an issue, but a thing I do now is I use this app that I probably shouldn't even know about called Earnin. I don't know if you heard of Earnin.
Okay.
And pretty much like you can take from your next paycheck and use it for now, depending on if you want to use it right now, or if you want to use it within 3 to 5 days. They charge you probably like, I don't know, like 30 cents per transaction. And it's
You,
lovely, but also it gets
no,
you in
it's
trouble because
not
you're thinking you
lovely.
always
Yeah.
have the funds.
Yeah. Okay. So no, I did not know about this. I don't want to say I live under a rock. I work a lot. And so, um, I'm not like, and they don't advertise to me. Maybe they will now that we've talked about it. Maybe my phone will be listening and I'll get an ad.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they charge,
Please sponsor
no, basically,
me.
they'll front you the money from your next pay period, or they'll like
Yep,
kind of like a
yep.
payday
And
loan,
they'll
but like an app.
exactly. Without anything, yeah, without you having to pay anything else except for like I think the charge me like a few cents, like 30 cents or something. But that stuff adds up over time. So whenever you get your new
Hmm.
paycheck, you probably either will forget about the fact that you took out a $300 in total for that the month before, and then you're like, wait a minute, I owe
Hmm.
like 300 and whatever amount of dollars. Like this is insane, but it's okay because the next pay period you have money set aside for that. So I end up in that particular space, and then I end up unfortunately taking from Capital One's savings, and it's just like I would love to be able to just not that long ago, I was able to just keep the 300 each month in my savings, and it wasn't a lot, but I had at least like close to 2,000, 3,000 easily in
Hmm.
there, and now it's all gone. And I don't know, I really feel like my issue is the food stuff. I love like ordering stuff from Uber Eats, not sponsored, but I love I love Uber Eats, and I don't want to always leave my house, and or I'll go. I love going listening to live music, so I'm paying whatever the cover might be for live music just to sit and squat and listen.
Hmm.
And so I don't even know if I have entertainment on here as a budget item, but maybe I probably should because I feel like my life
You don't.
revolves around that.
Okay, so this is all doable. I will tell you that borrowing from your next paycheck is what we'll call a red flag because it means
Mm-hmm.
like we talk about dating, red flag. So we talk about personal finance, that we're gonna throw that out there as a red flag. Do it once or
Yeah,
twice, no judgment. But what
yeah.
I'd like to see you be able to do is live on your income and still have a bit to save from it.
Mhm.
And then if God forbid there was an emergency, that's available. But ideally
Yeah.
we get our emergency fund up and you as you have been, but you borrow from it, not deplete it, and then we replace it. And so you're doing it for yourself rather than using a company who's charging you. And also I
Mhm.
think you'll take a lot of control back when we get a handle on your budget because I'm sure it's frustrating at the end of the month needing to borrow from next month's wages, right?
Yeah, it's very embarrassing for me. I mean, not that anyone really knows this, but it's just like it's embarrassing for me. I'm like 34 years old, and I'm like, man, I would love to have a family one day and those things. And I'm like, I'm borrowing from an app. Like, I can't even take care of myself properly, like, or follow, guidelines for a budget. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I will say that I think this time is particularly hard. That you're not the only person that we're seeing that's having a very hard time making their income work. And I don't think it's necessarily the income. I just think that costs have gone up significantly, like all around, and incomes have stayed similar, right? So the problem is the increases are not lifestyle creep, it's just inflation. And so your groceries aren't getting you, your $200 on groceries are not getting you as much. And then Uber Eats, what maybe last year was $20 is now this year 25, or the service fees. And right, it's like sometimes you look at the prices of like what you're going to pay if you don't have a subscription to one of those, and it could be almost double. Like I looked at ordering breakfast one day and it was like $37.
Yeah, isn't that
And I
insane?
was like, it's insane. And I was like, $37. Like it's eggs. It's eggs. No, eggs are usually unaffordable. They have spiked in prices, but if you think about what it costs for a carton of eggs, like I'm much better off. I did not hit click as much as I wanted to. I was like, if I'm going to
Yeah,
do this, I'm going to drive there and get it. Um,
exactly.
but but like if that happened, like if we're not conscious of like these, and it's you still can go out to eat, right? Let's just say that you've budgeted to have going out, but not if it's $40 for the delivery and it's a $12 meal, right? Like
Exactly.
you can get a lot of $12 meals if you eliminate those service and expenses, right? And they've just creeped up a lot because I remember it used to be. I saw that I was like beep 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 tip. Obviously, you're tip, but I was like, man, I don't remember it being this expensive. So
Yeah, it's so crazy. I think about like back in, I think it was 2012, I moved to my own for the first time. My rent was, I think, 795, somewhere around there. And I lived in the same area, really nice, cute little area. And I was able to like give my mom money just because, like, mom, I love you. You're amazing. Here's money, and still like I was just getting out of college too. So I'm still like, able to party and do all these things and like eat out and like live my best life and not think about this kind of stuff, and also get groceries that's $200 plus probably, and have like a month plus worth. So it's so interesting to see how things have changed over the years.
yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people are feeling it. So technically you have 600 a month left over, technically. But let's just run through do you have a 403B at work? You're in a
I do.
university of
Mhm,
education for are you
mhm.
participating in that?
I think it's about 3% I'm contributing.
Okay, and not often is there a match, but do you have one? Do you know? Do they
It's a
contribute?
100%. And I think it goes up to 150 once you're vested, which is like a 3 year
Mm-hmm.
situation. So
It goes up to $150.
match, or 150% match. I apologize.
Oh, 150% match. Okay,
Yes,
perfect. And it's vested over 3 years.
correct.
Okay, that's actually a generous vest schedule because sometimes they're five. So,
Yeah.
um, and it's over 3 years. Perfect. So you're in that for 3%. And how much do you have in that account? I know you just started.
It's not a lot, and I also did not have the numbers in front of me, but it can't be that much. I just started
That's
at the
you.
very end of November, and I probably signed up, I don't even know when, like sometime in December.
Okay. And then do you have any other retirement plans?
No, that's it.
Okay. And then do you have any debt? Do you have credit cards, student loans?
Yeah, I have about close to 9,000 for my two credit cards in total. And then my
Okay.
student loans, which is probably the most, which is about 160,000, give or take.
Okay. Okay. And now with where you're working, is it a qualifying institution for the public loan forgiveness
Yes.
program? Public service? It is.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. And are you on an income-based repayment plan then? I'm getting
I'm not sure. I actually have to call them tomorrow because I had missed a payment. I didn't have it to give them recently. But I was
Yep.
told to call back to figure out what that looks like and to sign myself up for all the things that I
Yeah.
need for the next. I've probably surpassed the 10-year mark, but yeah,
Yeah, because I was gonna say you've been working a bit because you're 30.
yeah.
So now I believe, and don't quote me on this, I believe you can go back for when they pause them. They're all federal
Hmm.
loans, and you can get
Yes.
qualifying years because otherwise, I do believe that the public, unless they change it, I believe, and I would verify this tomorrow, that you need to certify your institution every year. So I think they'll go
Yeah.
back. And so you have to do it on an annual basis to make sure that you're getting credit for the years you're working. I do think you have an
Hmm.
opportunity now to go back and capture the pause, which should be I mean, that started in 2020, so that should be like
Yeah,
a good amount of time. I would ask if you can go back and get credit for any other years. That would be my question. And then
yeah,
if you can't, I would make sure that you're getting certified because that would be amazing to get that wiped out. Because
I would
what is
love
that
that.
monthly payment? I think that's where we're missing the
Jeez.
600 because I don't have that.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the thing. I haven't even been paying because it's been in remission pretty much because of I guess there's been like recent like policies and laws and things like that. So I think I
Yeah.
was paying closer to 200 at one point in time a month.
Okay.
I guess we'll find out tomorrow.
You'll find out tomorrow. But yeah, so you had been under the pause, so you didn't have to make
Yes.
payments, but those years
Hmm.
count towards your public loan forgiveness, which is
Yes.
fantastic. You just have to you have to verify that. Usually with them, you have to do a little bit of work to get something. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. Okay, so then it should be when you have to start paying. It sounds like it just started. It would be around 200 a month, and I would verify that with this income with this job, that it would still be 200 a month based on
Mhm.
the payment plan. But that's a phenomenal way to get your loans paid off with a nominal amount that you'll pay. So if you're, we'll use the $200 amount as your monthly payment. So then over the course of every year, you're going to pay 2,400, right? So over 10 years in theory, you would have paid 24,000 instead of 161,000, right?
Yeah, that's so amazing. Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. So that I think it's a phenomenal program. So I would we've had people get we had one woman before they've made it easier, but initially when I started doing this podcast years ago, it was really, really hard. Like you really
Uh,
had to keep your paperwork. It was like a 1% approval. It was a really dismal approval. They've improved it. Yeah, it was really, really bad. And we had a woman early on who was like, I did it. And if I did it, you can do it. Yeah.
I love
She was like,
it.
yeah, it was wonderful. She was like, keep your paperwork. Like, if I can get through this, you can get through it. They've made it easier because they got obviously you create this amazing program. You want people to succeed. Like, you don't want to
Yeah.
like be like, we have it. Nobody survives.
Yeah.
Because that's not helpful. So it's gotten easier. And I think the fact that you can count all of the COVID years will like let you leapfrog. And then I would ask if they'll count any of the other years that you would have that are qualifying.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and then
think
that way we can
so. I
get
think
that taken care of.
I I feel like when I call the first time and just something about me that like everything's foreign language to me. So like anything numbers, it was really anything like about numbers and being an adult. I'm like, how do you adult, you know? So I'm like spending a full hour writing down every bit of notes, getting like definitions, stuff like that, because I'm so lost. But I do think that they told me last time I spoke with them that there's like a digital paperwork that I can actually transfer to the former jobs. There wasn't like a cutoff on that though, which is nice.
Oh,
But now this was maybe 2, 3 months ago. So yeah, I'll figure this out once I talk to them
yeah.
tomorrow if this is still a thing.
Okay, so you have two pieces of homework for me. One, the
Okay, I love
supplemental.
homework.
Okay. One, the supplemental income. I would bring that back up to their attention and just say until the role is filled, I would appreciate the extra income to do the extra work and
Mhm.
push back on that ending and see what they say. Just say, what else could you do for me? You know, in order supposed to be two people doing the role, it's just me. What else can we do? Or you could even say, like, if I'm going to continue this, like, can I have a raise to reflect the fact that I'm doing additional work and you're no longer paying two salaries, you're paying one salary, but two roles are getting completed. So remember, you always want to bring back that what you're doing, the value of what you're doing, the monetary value of what you're doing, not
Mhm.
because it's not about you, it's about them, right? So like always make
Yeah.
it about them. So I'm helping you and I'm doing two people's work. You're paying us out one salary. So either the supplemental income would be super appreciative to reflect the fact that I'm doing additional work, or is there a chance that if you're not going to hire anybody, I continue to do both roles, but that will be reflected in a salary increase?
Yes. I will definitely bring that up again. The other caveat to that is so on the organization side, there's like a corporate side to that, and they also hire site managers, and they're making 64 plus thousand. And I'm clearly not making that. And it's so frustrating because they know this. It's not like they don't know this. They've heard it from the mouths of the former site managers complaining, and that's why the
Right.
last one left
And
when
now
they
they're
did. They're
late.
like, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? If you don't give me the close to 64, like I'm out the door. I'll find something else. And they don't care, and so they just they left after those 9, 10 years, So, and I obviously brought it up whenever I applied. I'm like, I really thought I was gonna get something close to that, seeing as though I was at 63 at my former job as a site
Right.
manager. Like it's so frustrating, and I'm trying to stick in it, but honestly, I'm like, I have to find something else. I have to. This is too much.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And the thing, what you could do is if you get something else and you get something for more, you could always go back to them and say, I have an offer for, we'll just say 63. If you do
Hmm.
like the role, you could decide. You could say, if
Hmm.
you'd like to keep me, you're going to have to match or make it more attractive to stay. And I know you've had a lot of turnover, and I want to give you the opportunity to give me a comparable salary. So,
Yeah, that is so true because I'm the
but you
only
just have to
one that will
be
do the work.
willing to walk. Yeah. And the thing is, they might realize now, unfortunately, sometimes for companies, it takes somebody leaving for them to really realize that
Hmm.
they should just pay more because it's honestly cheaper to keep a good
Yeah.
employee than it is to try and replace. And so they might be more sensitive to the inequality with the wages.
Hmm.
And they might have a reason like, well, we offer a better match on the 403B or better health insurance, so it's not going to be
Yeah.
identical, but they but they could say, well, the value of your health insurance is 2,000. Okay, well then you should get me to 62,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And it's such the way my brain works. Like, yeah, I understand that. And trust me, I always need to have great like insurance and things like that. In the now, what I want to see is not what I'm making. You know what I mean?
Right.
If that makes any sense. It's
Yeah.
like all this stuff it's great, but I want to be able to use this money right now. I'm moving. I have this
Yeah.
cat. I have other things. I want to like be a young person and exist in the world and do fun things, like, or just pay my rent, and can move into a
Yeah.
place where I feel comfortable, where I can breathe and not have to worry about, okay, how many dollars do I have left after rent?
Oh, no,
So
absolutely. So, okay, so I think number one is advocate for yourself, which I'm sure you're great at, for the supplemental or a wage increase because you're doing two roles, and
yeah,
knowing that the role at the other on the other vendor side is a lot more. I will say, generally, education pays less than private sector, usually
yeah,
because of medical benefits. I will be honest. It's
yeah.
usually the medical. The medical is usually better coverage, lower copays, all of those sort of things. But with that said, it doesn't hurt to ask. Just say, I know that she left because she could have made 64. I know that's with the other side. I don't want to leave. I like the role, but you have me doing two roles instead of one role. So I'd like to discuss a salary increase to reflect the additional work that I've taken on. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, the public service loan forgiveness. Because I think you'd feel great if you knew that was going to be done in like 2 years or 4 years or
I
whatever,
totally would.
right?
Yeah. I would love to feel accomplished for once in something.
Yeah, and that would be a huge accomplishment, like getting your master's and then being done getting it paid off and getting it paid off for a fraction, right? Like not taking advantage, but using the resources that are available successfully. And this is a great resource, and not everyone uses it. No, and when you graduate, they're not like, hey, looks like your master's would align with work in the public service arena. You should know about this. Like, no one sends you a letter and says, hey, oh,
Yeah.
you got a job in public service? You should get your loans forgiven. Here's how. Here's 3 steps. Scan this QR code and we'll take care of it. A lot of this information isn't readily available. You have to go looking for it, right? They don't come to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Taking care of your health isn't always easy, but it should at least be simple. That's why for the last 3 years, I've been drinking AG1 every day with no exceptions. It's just one scoop mixed in water once a day, every day, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. That's because each serving of AG1 delivers my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, and more. It's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. With AG1, I know I'm getting essential brain, gut, and immune health support with vitamins, probiotics, and nutrients from whole foods. I like to think of it as my nutritional insurance. I know I'm covering my nutritional bases from the very start of the day. If there's one product I had to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1, and that's why I've partnered with them for so long. So if you want to take ownership of your health, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/future rich. That's drinkag1.com/future rich. Check it out. You know what I want to do, right? Because you've been listening to the show. You know what I want.
Oh no, do you?
Okay. My goal for you is I want an emergency fund.
Oh,
Um,
geez.
and then I know you knew that coming on here. You've been listening. You knew I was
I
going to ask for this.
did. I wanted to, though, Barbara. I do. So why am I like
Okay.
shocked?
Okay, so I want an emergency fund. So we're going to do everything in steps. So advocate for a raise. I think you deserve it, or supplemental income, whatever. Let's get the student loans. That's going to be a process, right? Depending on how many years you have, but it's in the near term. It's like, I would say probably pre-40, which would be great. You can turn 40, be like, no debt, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I want to work on your emergency fund, and consecutively, we're going to try and figure this out. I want to work on retirement.
Yeah. My mom is
We all want to
so
retire.
concerned. My mom is so
She
concerned for
is.
me. Yes, she talks about it all the time because I'm a kind of person that I want a couple things in a job. I want to feel comfortable and confident. And even if I don't, I want to have that support. And I feel like I never had that support. Mine is my first big girl job. And ever since then, like it just has been kind of downhill ever since. But I also need money too. And so like when I don't feel one of two things, I'm normally like, okay, guess what? My master's, I can go somewhere else. Like right now in my brain, I'm like, I can go somewhere else. But like I would love to, in all honesty, I would love to stay put somewhere, even though the ADHD is
Mm-hmm.
talking like, gotta go, gotta go. I want to be able to stay somewhere for a long period of time. Like I did my first job. I worked in the ad agency world and I loved my life. I was kind of like an event planner, like an internal event planner slash
Oh,
administrative
cool.
person. And I was only getting paid like what, 20 something $1,000. But that was also back in like 2011, 2012. And it stretched, it really stretched. And, we were getting fed, we were drinking adult beverages, like
Adult
once a
beverages.
week. Yes, and like having summer fries, and we had all these other perks that you can see in your face, like in real time. And I had the most amazing supervisor, and I would have stayed there forever. But just like advertising world goes, at least here in Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
the cuts were like 3 times a year, and I was one of the many people that got laid off, and so that's the only reason why I left. I probably would have been there now after 12
So
years.
yeah, that's a long time. And so is your mom more concerned about, do you talk to her about your finances, or is she concerned that she wants you to find a job that you're happy with and you can stay?
The latter. So I wouldn't even tell her about, finances. But she's a mother,
Okay.
so she has mother instincts, mother intuition. So
Instincts.
she probably assumes whatever. And she's a mom, the only child. So she assumes like probably needs food, or she's not going to tell me because I'm very independent in that way. Like I could be on my last dollar, which is pretty much all the time, and I always make it work. I figure it out. So and I rarely ever ask people for things. My friends are just so kind and they just have money to give. So sometimes they'll just be like, hey, here you go. Like I got a bubble tea for you today. Like you just, because they know that
Right.
I've been struggling for years, and I would love to get to a point where I can just travel the world and do those things. But as far as my mom goes, she really wants me to stay put somewhere, and she comes from that time in the world where like if someone's spitting in your face, you still stay put. It doesn't matter, you're retiring from there, you can get kicked in the knee and like have the worst health conditions, like you're going to stay there. It doesn't matter until you retire. And that's not the
Yeah, that
world that
old
I'm coming from.
school. Well, it's not
Yeah.
the world we really live in, where it's very rare, not to say it's not it's good or bad, but generationally things are a little different. That my grandfathers each worked for one company. That was it. Like I don't think there was any thought
Wow.
like, yeah, if you don't I yeah, you don't look. Yeah, my both
Yeah.
of my grandfathers worked for the same company for their entire lives. I don't know that anyone
Wow.
even looked for another job, right? You got one job, you were happy you
Yeah.
had your job, and then you stayed there till you were 65, like 40
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Or
Um,
longer if you
just,
felt like it.
yeah, or longer if you felt like it. Yeah, exactly. If you could do it. Yeah, my one grandfather had a very physical job, so I think he was happy to have
Whew.
made it.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. I think probably what your mom is looking is for some stability for you, if I had to take
Yeah.
a guess,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because change is hard on everybody. And I think a lot of change in your career is hard, especially if the income is changing, right? Because a new budget and like what can I afford and not afford because the income is variable. But I also do think it's important that if you don't think this job is a good fit for you, I wouldn't
Hmm.
stay just for the money. I think that given that you said that private companies pay around 10,000 more, you could look to go to one of those roles and immediately increase your income. I would tell you though to investigate the health benefits, because if the health is like kind of crappy, pardon my language, that adds up really quickly if you use medical insurance. And as women, we do tend to use our medical coverage. Little
Oh yeah.
sidebar. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got married and I went on my husband's insurance, and he was on like there was two options, the more expensive and the cheaper. So he was on the cheaper. So we went to the more
Yeah.
expensive. I've used up his whole HRA in like 6 months. Like he was like, What happened to this account?" I was like, "Oh, we got married and I go to the doctors and you've never gone." So that was like,
Well, I'm glad.
I'm using it. He was like,
Yeah.
"They just take it." I was like, "We're married. So yeah, now that's mine." So since you didn't go anywhere at any
Yeah.
doctors,
Yeah.
I took I didn't know I was taking that, but
Yeah.
yes. So it can. You definitely want to evaluate that. I think that that gets overlooked often, and I think it's dependent on who you are. Like I'm a person who goes to the doctors a lot, and so unfortunately, and but so I that coverage is important because if I'm paying, 80/20 and I have a high deductible, like I think our out of pocket family max is like 7,000. That's a lot. That's a lot if
Yeah.
my out of pocket is 3,500. So
Yeah.
that stuff adds up, and I'd almost rather make a little, this is me, not you, but make a little bit less and know I have full coverage, because then it's easy to budget, right?
Yeah.
Because if everything you need is covered, then you don't worry about getting hit with these random medical bills. But that being said, that I would still look for what you want, which is good medical coverage and good income, and I think you can find it. And if you don't, there's no harm in looking. You still
Yeah,
have a job.
exactly. Yeah. That's why I'm telling my mom everything. Like even with this job going back to this university, 'cause I used to work there before,
Hmm.
and I loved it again, just trying to get more experience. And so I went to this organization, which was the worst decision of my life, but I got that experience to now get another site manager role, which is what happened. So that was exciting.
Right.
But now I'm like, I don't know, I feel like nothing could ever please me at this point. I'm also creative too, like I said, and then I also have ADHD, so it's like I feel like I'm always just on the move looking for the next thing, and I just wish I could just stay put. I really do.
So I'm going to ask you a question. So
Okay.
obviously the way to get ahead financially is either to make more money, right, or spend less.
Hmm.
So any interest or anything that maybe would cater to that creative side of you, that you could generate some additional income, where maybe it was something on the night, like one night a week or one weekend night a week, where you could bring in a couple $100s, because that would eliminate probably some financial pressure and maybe give you some of that outlet that you're looking for.
Yeah, so funny you asked. So I have this brand called Paint No Stress. And the idea is just to
Okay.
build community and storytelling and all this lovely stuff with people in the community. Talk about certain sensitive subject matters you don't get a chance to really talk about with your family and loved ones. And just find your safe space. So along with us talking about different things, I also paint with people, and so people kind of know about it in the area because it's like a
Okay.
mid-sized city. People just kind of just know things. So normally at least once a year I'll get, like maybe twice a year, I'll get a call about doing that. I do not advertise myself enough. I don't brag about myself enough, and I have social media for that separate from my personal page. And I just
Okay.
need to do more of that. And then every year, almost every year, I participate in our arts festival, which brings in about 2-3 thousand, I would say I get, which is
Oh,
always nice. I know, right? And then
that's a wait, that's a lot. That's a lot of
yeah,
money.
yeah, where does it go? That's the question of the day.
Well,
That's the
hey,
problem.
okay.
So
Okay. So
yeah.
so you have the side hustle. So now we just need to make sure that we're intent. So I think this is going to come down. I think it's going to be a mentality change, right? Like a mentality shift of like I need to be intentional about where my money is going and be more. I don't want to say disciplined. I think we just need to change habits a little bit, right? And that doesn't happen overnight. That always takes time. But that would be a perfect way, like, to fund the emergency fund. Like the money goes right from the art. But the issue is we're running out of money monthly, which I think is the problem. And so that's probably going to just take care of the overage every month.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm going to challenge you for the month, and you could do it one of two ways. Maybe I shouldn't give you two ways to do it. Maybe that's a bad choice. Okay. So one way people do this is using cash for a month. I'm actually going to do this. I was going to put this on social media that starting August 1st, I was going to live on cash, except for like, obviously your rent comes out of your bank account, but you know what that is. Because I also wanted to do it because I do think, as we've talked about, things have gotten really expensive. It's really easy to get to the end of the month and be like, we're technically have 600 left over. Like we had enough money. I mean, that's 400 left over, which is $100 a week, which is very easy to that for that to slip away. Like as we talked about, like DoorDash fees, or you went out and had a lot of tacos, whatever. Um, but I think that sometimes taking a step back and saying like I'm going to be really intentional this month about where is my money going, and I want to stick to the categories I've selected, and I want to make sure that I'm really monitoring my spending. Now, this is something you can do for 1 month and see where it's going, and it could be. I think the hard part about this is people always think it's permanent. Like I always am going to have to be restrictive. You're not always going to have to be restrictive. We just need to get a handle on everything. And once we get a handle on everything and we start to turn the ship around where we're staying within our means monthly, then you're going to start to make progress on your Capital One and on your credit cards. And once it starts to snowball, it's like once we get a handle on everything and you're not, because if we're negative every month, it'll never get better, right? And my concern for you is even if you get a job making more money, we still have the same problem,
Yeah, that's true.
you know? So you've lived on less money before.
Yeah, yeah.
You've done it. It's very hard though. This is where I actually think this initiated from. You made more and you have to go making less, and that is a very hard transition because you then have to go back to being mindful about your spending where you probably didn't have to be at 63,000. At 64, you weren't over every month. You were probably just covering. You weren't maybe saving as much as you wanted, but you knew you had the money, and you know, we can get away with it then. So now it's uncovered the problem a bit because we're making less, like significantly less money. But you can
Yeah.
do it. You've done it before. So what I would do is take 1 month to be very strict about your spending and like be very conscious of every dollar. And if you want to do it with me, I'm going to do it starting August.
Okay.
I like round numbers, so I'm going to do it on August 1st, and I'm going to post about it because I've been very frustrated. And I'm like, oh, we have Paramount Plus. Like I didn't remember signing up for to sign up for Paramount Plus. You know, like I
Yeah.
just it
Yeah.
gets, you know, it's very easy even for me to like. Sometimes you just need to rein it in a little and like reset. And so I'm going to do a reset in August. You're welcome to join me. And then I think
Yeah.
once you do that and you're really disciplined for a set period of time and you'll see where the money's going, right? Because now if you have to think
Mhm.
about where every dollar is, you're like, oh yeah, maybe I'm actually spending 400 a month on eating out, but that wasn't
Yeah.
really the choice. That's not what I set up for myself. That happened
Mhm.
carelessly. And so I think that once you do that and you can say, okay, this was a tough month, but I'm going to commit to doing this again next month because we'll just say, then you actually had the 300 for the Capital One, you had the 350 for the credit cards, and you had, let's say, 200 left over. That will feel, I think, for you very empowering.
Yeah, it would. The one thing I will say though, 'cause I know there'll be a lot of just little small costs coming up because I am moving. Like I think
Right.
I owe $1,000 for something for the apartment, and then moving trucks, that kind of stuff. I'm a little concerned about actually trying to start in August, but I would love to.
Okay.
I would love to see what that looks like.
When are you moving?
So I moved September 30th. So I get one
Oh,
month free,
shoot.
which is yeah, I know. I get 1 month free of rent, which is that whole
Okay.
September. And then I'll start paying rent in October, but I'll still be here and where I'm at now in September. So I'll still have to pay rent for here since
Oh,
it's
so
not
you don't
double.
get,
Yeah,
can
there's no like
you get,
grace period.
can you break your lease? What's the terms to break the
Oh my
lease?
gosh. I don't even want to get into that. We'll need another hour to talk about that. I probably could, but there was a situation that occurred on the end of this place where I'm living at now, and the guy's such a slumlord that he assumed that I like made up something really weird whenever I had got someone before for my last apartment before I moved here again. And he jumped
Okay.
on the call and he was like, how dare you lie and say this, that, and the third. It was a whole thing. But just know that I wouldn't even want
Okay.
to try it again because I'm scared.
Okay.
I'm terrified to be honest. Because it wasn't even true what he said I did.
Okay. So then you won't have double rent, but you won't have a free month.
Yeah, not a free month, but at least it's not double rent.
Okay, and then you're planning on for the moving expenses. I'm assuming you're going to use a credit card. You'll put it on your credit card.
Whatever, however I can get the money, whether it be a credit card or just my debit card from my work's income.
I think you should still do this with me August 1st.
Okay,
I mean, maybe then you end up
sure.
saving a bit of money for the month, and then you have more money for the move because moves are expensive.
Okay, I'll try it. And I also have to pay back
Yeah,
earning too for this paycheck coming in. I get paid once a month.
we are going to be on a strict budget, you and I, and anyone who would like to. So we're just
Be
making a
very
public
strict.
announcement that Monet and I are not going to be doing a whole lot in August. And if you'd like to see us, please come to our respective apartments and please bring some alcohol when you come.
Or pick me up and take me somewhere and pay for it. Thank you.
Yes, that I'm available for that as well. Yeah, I would still do it. There's always going to be months that things come up. The best case scenario is you do this and you save more money than you anticipated. We cut out from other arenas. So like, let's say in August, probably no shopping, right?
Yeah.
Because we're working on a move. And you don't have a whole lot to cut from your budget. So maybe clothing, and then we try and
Yes.
find the gap that we have,
Mm-hmm.
supposedly, that we have a little bit of a gap. So maybe we try to find that and we cut out clothing for the month of August.
Yeah. Yeah. And grooming, I don't even get a chance to see this anyway, so I can just chop that off.
Yeah, we can chop that off. I mean, that is a great way to save money, honestly. I haven't gotten a manicure all year or a pedicure. And I
Yeah.
went to a wedding. I actually borrowed because my mom had like a little travel nail polish you get for free from somewhere.
Oh,
And I just brought that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've brought that as my travel one. And yeah, I mean, I was just like, yeah, I guess I could have, but I'm spending money different ways this year. And so I feel I'm a big believer. I have to be better about this with my closet, but like when you buy something, you get rid of something. But I do think with
Yeah.
expenses, like when I'm adding a new expense, I try and get rid of another expense, like for personal
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? Like, so I'm spending
Yeah.
more money on a gym, so I'm spending less money on that. But I
Yeah.
am a really big believer that you lived on less before. I also have lived on less before. You can do it. It's like a muscle we need to use again that we haven't had to use. Because once you
Yeah.
don't need to use that muscle, we like get rid of it. Everyone gets rid of it. I will tell you that as people make more money, but they'll see. So I want to get rid of the problem of like not knowing where it goes. And because the thing is, what we see, and you'll see it on the podcast, is people will make more money and still be like, well, I'm not getting by monthly. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, it's not
I'll just
really,
work
to me,
it.
it's not an income problem. Yeah.
Yeah. I think someone actually pointed that out to me, even though I was making whatever it was, 63 in total. I think I'm bringing in more money a month than what I was when I was making 63. And I was like, this is so
Taxes.
embarrassing, but it's so on brand for me. Why am I spending this?
But it's totally solvable. And I will
Yeah.
also tell you that working with individuals who retire, it is generally not the super high income earners who retire super successfully. It's the ones you can have a modest income. It's the ones who are very disciplined with their expenses, who
Yeah.
are super successful. And so the only way to change the trajectory is, I think, to like be a bit not extreme, but to say, okay, I'm going to pause. I don't like how all of this feels. This is not what I want. I'm well educated and I have a good job, and we don't even need to really work. We don't need to worry about the student loans. You're going to get those forgiven, and the 200 relative to your $3,500 take home is moderate. That's fine. We can handle that. It's about
Mhm.
the real issue is like we just got to get a handle on the budget. Like, where's this money going? Because it's not serving you.
Yeah. That's true. It just sucks. I'm like, why is this happening now? And it's nice outside. I'm single. I want to go places, and I try to utilize my resources. I do know like DJs I can get in for free places, and I try to do those things as much as possible. I love walking, so I'll walk places. I have a free
I
bus
was like,
pass,
walk.
public bus pass. Yeah. So that's always
Great.
exciting to me. So I try to do that.
Yeah, you can like meet a friend in the park and bring your own food for dinner. Like
Yeah.
the thing is it takes more energy to be creative. It just does. It's so much
Yeah.
easier to be like, let's meet at a brewery, let's go here, and not it takes a lot more energy to be like, I'm on a budget this week and I'm not buying any more groceries, so I'm gonna have to pack a Tupperware and meet you somewhere. But you can still do it. It's just
Yeah.
more advanced planning and a bit more creativity. And I would say on the flip side, like if you think about, I also think that you're single is helpful for one reason. you are completely in control of everything right now. So there's not somebody being like, let's go to dinner, let's go do this. Because then you kind of need a buy in from your partner to also be on this path
Yeah.
of like, let's rein it
Hmm.
in. And if you have a
Yeah.
partner who doesn't want to rein it in, I think it makes it a lot harder to rein it in when they're like, let's
Yeah.
spend money. And you're like, no, I don't want to spend a dollar, not a dollar.
Exactly.
So this is like a good window to like reset while it's all up to you. It's completely up to you and in your control.
Yeah.
And then I think you'll be in a good spot. The fact that you made $2,000 to $3,000 at an art show, I mean,
Yeah, yeah, I know. I want to go next year, even though I was like, I'm never going again because there's so much that had happened this year. But I'm going to work with our arts council and just kind of see if they can tweak a few things. And then if that's possible, then I would definitely consider it for next year for sure. There's definitely a lot of upfront
yeah,
costs leading up to that. So it's like, it doesn't balance out. I definitely am spending less preparing than I am earning. But it's nice, just nice just to be able to just like, showcase your work and definitely get the 2,000,
yeah.
$3,000.
Yeah, and if you can get your business to make you, even if it made $100 a week, if you did one event and charge people
Mhm.
$20 to participate or whatever it is, because you do not need to do
Mhm.
it for free at
Yeah.
all.
Mhm.
If you right, and then now that's extra money, and then it's we got to turn everything around, but we have all the pieces, is what I'm saying.
Yes. Very true.
It's just using them.
Yeah. I even thought about getting like an intern maybe to kind of help me organize that and make
Yeah,
sure that I'm like seen in the city, and because I feel like
yeah.
I lack in that a lot. I haven't thought about contracting. There's so many things I can do. I get really excited about, but am I doing it? No. I kind of just come home from work, play with my cat, and then eat, and then I go to sleep.
Yeah, it's hard. So like I would just set it up like part of your job. So like one on Mondays, I'm gonna set up. So is it like an in-person thing? Like the paint, is it like you meet together to
It can
paint?
be virtual too, to be honest. It can be virtual.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah. So I would say I would like put it as like 1 day a week. I'm gonna work on this for an hour, and my goal is to trying to get it to make $100, even if it starts at $50 a week. That will make a big difference to you. That's 200 a month.
Yeah, very
And
true.
if you think of it from the way I need 5 people to pay $20, that's 100. And so if you get three
Mhm.
people, there's still $60. And just I would
Yeah.
pick one night that's your night, like before you have dinner, but before you like put on Netflix or something, like you do 1 hour on this and try to make it a routine. So like I record the podcast on Saturday mornings generally. Would it be nice to sleep in on Saturday mornings? Sure. But once a month, I do a Saturday morning and I do like 4 hours on the podcast. And then that way it's just like a routine. I just know that generally I have to pick a Saturday where I'm going to commit to working. And then it just kind of happens once you get in the
Yeah.
habit, I think.
I like that idea. I do, because a lot of places I can think of that would probably want me back again. And I just don't mean like it only
Yeah.
happens once and it's like, okay, see ya. Hopefully I'll see you again. I like that idea a lot.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so your first things to do, a very easy solution, but I still think the budgeting is super critical, is to advocate for the raise and and then get on the student loan repayment plans. So we
Yes.
can get rid of that. And then secondary is I think we have to do a real inventory of what's coming in and then where is it really going. And probably in the interim until we get caught up, you're gonna have to cut back,
Yeah.
which is fine. I'm gonna do it. So you won't be doing it alone.
Thank you.
And then I think the goal would be by the end of the year. So let's say you can do this, you get the move done, we don't accumulate much more debt, we start to pay it down, right? And then we get to the point where you're not negative monthly. Then I would say the goal next year is that we increase and start building that emergency fund, and in tandem we increase the 403b. I don't want to do that now, obviously, because I don't want, if we're already negative monthly, I don't want to add any more stress to that, because then what will happen is we put it in the 403b, we end up with too much credit card debt, we have to remove the 403b, we pay tax penalties, gets really icky. So I think the first thing is we fix the budget. I know you can live on less, you did it before. And then once you get there, then you have taken back all control, right? At that
Yeah.
point, you are now in control of your money again, and that will be a very empowering feeling. And then from there, you'll start tackling little bits. It doesn't all have to be done. And then next year, we'll look at emergency fund and retirement.
If anybody's listening, you know where I am. I'll be in my home, never going outside
Yeah,
again. It's not till the end of the year.
Yeah. I can't believe that. So you can, I'm going to post about it. I actually was just thinking about it today. So I'm glad that I had you on because I was like, I guess I should post about this.
Yeah,
Um,
it's exciting.
I will post about it on Future Rich Podcast, which is on Instagram. So just to give you an idea of what I'm doing, how I'm spending my time, and what I'm doing for free. But my goal is to use cash. I think that will work nicely to try and pay for everything in cash. And just, I'm sure if they accept it. The problem is some places are like cash. No, we don't do that anymore. Um, but basically, I'm just going to try and cut back to zeros. Like I'm going to just do my bare minimum. Like I'm going to buy groceries, eat the groceries, that sort of thing, just so I can get a handle on like where the money is going.
Yeah, makes sense. I'll try my best to do the same thing in August with you.
Okay, amazing. Do you have any other questions for me?
No, I just honestly, my concern was just trying to stick to a budget and like trying to find ways to stay disciplined. Is just, I don't know. I feel like other than, I was going to say other than relationships, but clearly that's not the case. But other than relationships, I feel like I haven't really been so successful at being consistent with something. And so, and it's just sucks just being, like I said, my age and just wanting to see myself progress in this way, and I just feel like I'm not progressing at all. And yeah, I just want to find a way to actually see money saved and also be able to use money at the same time. And what does that look like for me? I thought you would have a solution, and look, you do have a solution for me. So I'm
I know,
excited.
but
I'm excited to try.
it's this, yeah, the solution is not an easy one. I will tell you that. There is like
Yeah,
there's no magic bullet when it comes to this, unless you said, I'm going to pick up a definitive second job, which is all, if you decide you don't want to do the art thing and you just want to get a waitressing job or a dog
yeah,
walking job or whatever, and definitively make like a set, someone else is going to tell you what you're going to make versus building your own side hustle, either are fine. And you might say, I'd really rather just get a dog walking gig or a babysitting gig or whatever, or tutoring, whatever it is that you want. And I know I'm going to make another 200 to 300 a month because I don't want to have the Monday night where I have to work on the business to make the money. I just want to go somewhere and make money. There's nothing wrong with that either. I waited tables for years. So to me, it was like social. I got a free meal, a free glass of wine, and money. So I was like,
yeah.
win. And it was a night I didn't spend money by being in a restaurant, right? Because I was already there working.
Yeah,
Um,
I definitely thought about it because I actually wanted to move to DC so bad. It's all I want to do in my life to just move to DC and just start new. And it's so expensive there. I don't even know where I would
yes.
even begin. So that's not on the list right now, unfortunately, unless a job does come up. That would be amazing. Like, I've been applying to DC as well, and something comes up, and out the door I go. But for now, I'm just kind of focused on, what's happening right here in front of me and see what that looks like.
Yeah, so then if that's the case, then let's see if we can get your money to go further, which means we're going to just need to be disciplined about where is it going out throughout the month. I do think that you have enough coming in that we have to get the credit cards down and then get the Capital One up. And that one trick I tell people, but I just don't know in your case, is like where you pre-set up your savings. The problem is if you're going over, you're just going to pull it back out of savings, right? That's what's been
That's what
happening.
I'm
Is it
doing.
auto?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's indicative of like there's just we're overspending monthly. So I just think I don't think it's going to be as bad that bad. I think it will be eye-opening
Yeah,
to see,
for
to like
sure.
be super strict about what you're spending your money on for a month and see like, okay, how much did I actually have left over? And like, where are these sneaky expenses coming from?
Yeah, exactly. Ah, geez, I'll give you updates.
All right, give us updates. Well, Monet, we'd love to have you back and see how it's going. And you
Yes.
can follow us on Instagram while I do this starting in August. And
Yes.
for all of our lovely listeners, you can follow along for this August no spending challenge that Monet and I will be doing. So you can follow on Instagram, and then you can also follow along for our most up-to-date information on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Time for our disclaimer. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance references are historical and do not guarantee future results. Make sure that you consult with your own legal, tax, and/or financial advisor before making any decisions.